Hello and welcome back to Side by Side with D. Today I am so excited for the video that we're going to be making today. We are going to be doing a steakhouse, like a steakhouse sandwich. So basically all the things that we absolutely love and adore from a steakhouse, and we're going to put it in between two pieces of bread. I kind of got an idea of this from a video that I saw on Pinterest. I can't do the little thingy where I go like this and the video plays because my editing skills are not there yet. So I'm gonna have to put the link to the pin in the description box. But basically, she made like a truffle sandwich. She toasted bread. She made her steak. She made a truffle, kind of like a truffle aioli. And then she fried up some potatoes really thin and got them like super crispy. So they were almost like, not even like frites, but like sticks almost. And then she shredded some cheese and grilled the whole thing together with the steak on it, and that was her version of it. We're gonna deviate from that just a little bit. One of the reasons is I actually don't have a potato and I'm not gonna go get one. Also, potatoes are great, but I do not go to the steakhouse for potatoes. I go for the steak, of course, but I also love some of the other sides, and one of those sides happens to be like the crispy fried onions. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be slicing some onions really thin, battering them up, frying them, putting that on top of our steak sandwich with a peppercorn sauce. And I also have this, I was in the liquor store the other day, in the wine store, and I saw that they had this caramelized onion Monterey Jack cheese. Of course I got it. And we're going to be putting that on our sandwich as well. So it's going to be oniony. We've got some roasted garlic here. So there's going to be a roasted garlic peppercorn sauce in this. We've got some truffle salt. This is going to be great. So one of the first things that I want to be able to do is get our onion rings started, because we do have to slice them pretty thin. I also don't have great knives, as you know. So we're going to see how that goes. But I obviously went ahead and roasted the garlic, and I took out my steak because I knew that we were going to have to get this going. But I did take a video of that, so I'm going to insert that here. Now, at this point, I went ahead and I took out my steak. I had made steak the night before, so I had a 2-pack of filet mignon from Trader Joe's. Luckily, it was only $18, so it really wasn't that much money. I thought it was a good price for 2 steaks. So I just went ahead and I just sat it on a plate so it can come up to room temperature. I also went ahead and grabbed, I have this little garlic bake dish. It's like some sort of ceramic or something like that. I think I got it from like Marshall's or something. But basically you just cut the head of garlic, you put some olive oil on it and some salt. I happened to use truffle salt for this because I knew I wanted as many truffle elements as possible, especially because I wasn't going to do the aioli. I went ahead and I added the truffle salt, the olive oil, and I roasted it. Now, I put my oven on 250 degrees, and I thought that at 250 for 45 minutes that would be enough, but the garlic still wasn't roasting, so I had to turn it up to 350 for about another 15 to 30 minutes. So I would say, all in all, if I was kind of starting over, or if you're watching this video and you're wanting to follow along at this point, I would put my oven on 300 degrees, and then I would go ahead and leave it in there for about an hour. But just check on it like around the 45-minute mark, just to make sure that it is roasting. You are starting to see it darken in color, but it's not burning. You want it to be soft. Like when you take that garlic out, you want to be able to smush it in between your fingers. So you don't want it to be hard. So you don't want it like frying in the oil. Also, if you don't have this little garlic dish, that's completely fine. What you can do is, if you just have like a piece of foil, you can just create like a little pocket and then still follow the same steps. Add some oil, add your salt, and then you can just make sure you close it completely and then put it in the oven, and it'll roast just as fine. We are going to keep the oil from this though, because that's the oil that we want to cook our steak in. It's going to basically be like a garlic infused oil. So it's just going to enhance the flavor a little bit. If you want to skip this step completely, you can. You don't have to do the roasted garlic. You can literally just have like 2 cloves of garlic at the end when we're frying up the steak, and then just fry that in the oil. But I do like the roasted garlic. I feel like it gave an extra element, and later on in the video you'll see that I actually took some of this garlic and smeared it on the bread before I made the sandwich, and I feel like it definitely made this even better. And I also feel like roasted garlic is also like another steakhouse staple, that it kind of just brings all those flavors together and really give you that feeling of a steakhouse. So at this point, I just cut off the top. I didn't want to cut too much because I didn't want to lose garlic, but I wanted to make sure each clove was actually open. That way we can actually get the oil and salt on top of the garlic and not just like the garlic peel. But also that way when we go ahead and we squeeze it, that garlic is not completely sealed so that it's not squeezing out. So I was just going into those little pieces of clove and making sure that all the tops were off. So that is what I have here. Our garlic dish. We're going to grab some extra virgin olive oil. Actually we're grabbing salt. This is the truffle salt. It's a white summer truffle salt. It literally has chunks of dried truffle in it. It smells amazing. I got it from ShopRite. That's like our local grocery store for $5.99. That could be kind of expensive, but it is also like a specialty salt. It's not something that I use on everything, so it does last me a while. I say I only buy it about once a year, because again, it's only something that I use very sparingly, just on like special things. If I want truffle flavor but I don't want to use like truffle salt, or I run out and I don't want to buy it, I literally go to Costco and I get the truffle and black garlic Parmesan seasoning. To me, that tastes like truffle and it works just as well. It may not be as fancy, it may not be as like true to truffle or whatever, but to me it works great. And then I just added some olive oil. Again, I popped that in a 250 degree oven, but 300 for an hour and you'll be set to go. Okay, now once you take your garlic out, for me it took about 45 minutes to an hour, and your steak is room temperature. We're gonna get going on this. Look at that. I can't pick it up because it's hot. You know what, actually, please don't let me drop this. Look at this. This is beautiful. It's got the truffle kind of in between the folds there, and all this oil that is sitting, we're going to be using that for our steak. So this is going to be really good. Now we need to go ahead and get started on the onions. The good thing about it though is that because the onions are going to be like battered and fried, it's not even going to be like a huge deal if they don't turn out like uniform or anything like that. We're not actually at a steakhouse. We're just trying to recreate those steakhouse vibes. If you ask me my favorite food, I need an apron. Without a doubt, it's steak and potatoes. I am a steak and potatoes kind of girl. I say this all the time. I should have been born like on a ranch, raising cattle or something like that. Like, I love steak and potatoes, like a good hearty meal. So I absolutely love going to the steakhouse. And I always order the same things. Steak, cream spinach, crispy onions, or like the bloomed onion or whatever it's called, blooming onion. And sometimes I'll get potatoes. Sometimes I'll do mashed potatoes. But again, mashed potatoes from steakhouse is not always my favorite. I guess it really depends, because steakhouses are kind of famously known for mashed potatoes. But in my opinion, I don't know. I feel like I've had better mashed potatoes in different places. Okay, yeah, easy. Yeah. So, before we start this, we need to get our oil heated up. So I still have the shortening that I used from the pie. You know what, actually, I'm supposed to be making apple pie later this week and I need this. So, I did not think about that. I don't have another neutral oil. The only oil I have is coconut oil. And I don't think I will use that. Now I do have this avocado spray. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sit here for a second. And I'm gonna see if I can spray it enough to get enough oil to crisp up my onions. While I do this, I kind of wanted to talk about my channel a little bit. I think I officially have maybe 3 or 4 videos up live, and I don't have a lot of views, but that's okay. But I will say that definitely just going back and watching those videos, realizing like some of the things that I did, the things that I was doing, probably wasn't necessarily working the best. Or like the angles weren't that great, or it was kind of choppy and stuff like that. So if you watch previous videos of mine that I've posted, and by the time this one goes up, this will probably be like my 10th video. Please let me know if the videos are difficult to follow along, because that's kind of really the whole point, right? We're side by side. We're supposed to be cooking together. And even though it is unedited in the way that however long it takes you to do that step, it's, you know, we're going to be doing that entire process, the prep and stuff. If you feel like I'm not going about it in the most efficient way, please let me know. I want to be able to have this channel as, you know, user friendly as possible. So if you feel like maybe I could do a little bit more of this or that, or maybe I do move too fast even though it's unedited, or you know, you would prefer to kind of have all of the steps listed out, or I guess read to you at the beginning of the video, so you kind of know what you're doing ahead of time. Because I guess in a way I already know that, because I've reviewed or I wrote or whatever with the recipe that I'm using. I've been kind of planning this out all week, so I know what is happening. When you click on the video, you kind of go in like completely blind. So if there is a better way to kind of get you prepped and ready, that you feel like it can work more smooth for you, because again too, this is my kitchen, right? Like this is how I have my layout. Your layout could be completely different. If it doesn't work, let me know. We'll go ahead and we'll kind of review, revise. You know, I want it to be better, and I really want it to work. I want you to see a video of mine, upload it, you're like, cool, I got time this weekend. Oh, I did want to do something, or I do want to try something, or yeah, like I'm excited to kind of see what else we're going to do next, rather than, oh, like this gives me anxiety, or this it's actually not that helpful, or it's too difficult. So with all that being said, like I said, please leave comments, comment. I'm somebody who loves YouTube, and I watch YouTube a lot, and I never comment on people's channels, but I need you guys to comment on mine, because I need to know if this is helpful for you. Okay, so I feel like I've got a decent amount of oil here. We're gonna go ahead and get this warmed up. Actually, I'm just gonna add a little more. Now, at some point, I do want to get to the point where I can give out specific measurements, like when I'm seasoning, because I can do that for like a bacon recipe, right? But as far as like when we're just kind of cooking, right? Like we're about to season the batter for our onions. I don't know, a sprinkle, a pinch, a teaspoon. Like, I'm not somebody who typically measures things, but again, because we want to be technical, we want to write recipes that other people can follow and it can be replicated. We need to learn how to figure out measurements. So we may have to get to a point that when we're seasoning food, even though it's something we've done so many times, I'm going to start crying. We want to be able to write down recipes and share recipes with people. So we're going to have to start using specific measurements while we cook. Our garlic is cooling. Our steak is room temperature. We're getting these onions. Now, we don't need a lot, so I'm not going to use this entire onion, but I do want to pick out the thinnest ones that I can. And I'm not going to be able to see. I've tried most of the onion hacks to get you to stop crying. But I read something where it said it's also due to your knives. And I 100% know that is the reason why for me, because I've tried all the other tips and tricks to get your eyes from burning, and it does not help. So I have a feeling it's with my jinky knife. Okay. That was a good one. Oh, no, it wasn't. It looked good from the side. I'm over it because it's kind of at a slant. Again, we don't need a lot. Okay, so this was a good one. So we'll use this one. Okay, that's perfect. So we have two, because we don't need a lot because it's only just going on our sandwich. So we're gonna pack the rest of this up. Now I do want to get our onions marinating in some buttermilk real quick. Just for like a couple minutes. I don't have buttermilk, but I have milk and I have vinegar. And when you add acid to milk, it can create buttermilk. So that's what we're going to do. And we do have to just let this sit for a second, because it'll start to curdle. And while we wait for that milk to start curdling, we'll go ahead and we'll start adding some seasonings too. Now, typically I would have used some house seasoning to put in here. But because we ran out, we're just going to use all the elements of the house seasoning. So we've got some smoked paprika. We've got some onion powder. We have some garlic powder. Because this is a truffle dish, we're going to use truffle salt. So the truffle, I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of truffle in everything. So it's not going to be in one component. Now, if you are somebody who doesn't mind mayonnaise, I'm not somebody who can eat mayonnaise. Like, I don't mind if mayonnaise is like folded into things, but I can't, like, it can't be white. It can't be like mayonnaise based. I can't do it. But if you're somebody who likes mayonnaise, you can just get a truffle aioli, and then you can skip like having to buy something like this, like a truffle salt, where you have to add it into pretty much every part of the dish. But again, for me, I'm going to go ahead and just add truffle salt because I can't do the aiolis. This is just a little bit of Cajun seasoning, just a tiny pinch. Get that whisked in, and we're going to drop in our onions. We do want to separate them. So are they paper thin? No, but I think that they're thin enough. I think it'll work out just fine. Show you. We have our onions marinating, and what we're going to do is we're just going to create the dry mix. I gotta drop something. We're going to create the dry mix for the onions. That way when we're ready to go ahead and drop them in the grease, we'll have that already mixed and ready to go. So we can just get that going. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna do my bag. I mentioned this in the video before, but I usually keep the produce bags that I shop with, and I'll keep them next to my little station here, and I'll just put my garbage in it and keep it to the side. That way when I'm cooking, I don't have to keep running back and forth to the garbage. Okay, so for our dry mix, we're gonna need some flour. And we did season the batter, but we're just gonna add just a little bit more salt and pepper to the flour. So I put 4 heaping tablespoons of flour, which is probably going to equate to about 5. And I'm actually going to add a little bit more of that Cajun seasoning, just so it has some color. Alright, so we're going to let that sit, and we're going to get started on seasoning our steak. So because this is a steakhouse sandwich, we're going to be using some steakhouse blend. But if you don't have a steakhouse blend, it is perfectly fine. You don't need to go out and get it. You can still just do salt and pepper. I'm only going to add a little bit of this because I'm still going to add kosher salt and pepper to our steak. And while we're salting our steak, let's actually turn our pan on to get it hot. I have a stainless steel pan, so it's very easy to tell when my pan is ready, because what you're going to do is you're going to take just some water and wet your hand, and you're going to shake that water off into the pan. If you see that the water starts to dance around the pan, it's ready. If the water immediately starts to fizzle, it's not ready. So it's pretty easy to tell whether or not your pan is ready for your steak or whatever it is that you're cooking. But if you don't have a stainless steel pan, my advice is when you're roasting your garlic, you can throw the pan in there while the garlic is roasting to get the pan hot. But if you're already at this point and you have not done that, just go ahead and you can either toss it in the oven or just put it on the stove and just give it about 10 minutes, or the time it's going to take for our pan to also heat up for it to be hot. If you don't have a cast iron or you don't have a stainless steel pan, like if you're using like a non-stick, you can still get it hot, but obviously it would not take as long as something like a stainless steel pan. You don't want it to start smoking, but you do want the pan hot. You do not want to try to sear a steak in a cold pan. So whatever pan you're using, get it hot. Like I said, if you're using a cast iron, you can throw it in the oven, or you can get it on the stove. Stainless steel, you can get it on the stove and it'll let you know when it's ready. So I'm gonna put this milk back in the fridge. And I have a filet here. It's been sitting out. It is room temperature and ready to go. So we're just gonna take, you know what we're gonna do? I'm gonna mix the seasonings in a bowl. Let me angle down so you can see better. All right. So I'm gonna add a handful of salt. And then I didn't put that much because we're also gonna use the truffle salt. Now this one is a big piece of truffle. I'm actually gonna throw that back in there. I don't mind the small ones, it's gonna be great for the crust, but that big one I do wanna keep in. We're gonna add some of the steakhouse blend. And also this has salt, so that's why if you look here, this is literally all the salt that we're gonna use. This is not 100% salt, but it does have salt in it. And I think it might be the first ingredient. Yep, sea salt. The first ingredient means that's what it contains most of. So we have all of our salt necessary. And yes, for steak, you need a lot of salt. Now, most places, they actually won't pepper the steak because they think, well, not what they think, they know. Just with the salt, that it gives it like a better crust instead of like the peppercorns burning. But I love that peppercorn taste. And we're gonna use those little burnt remnants at the bottom to use as a base to start our creamy garlic peppercorn sauce. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna press it in. We wanna get all sides coated. And that is our steak. We have a little bit left that we're gonna go ahead and use for the sauce. Okay, we're back to test out our pan. Let's see. See, now that is what we want. All of the water is dancing. None of it has just completely fizzled. And we're ready to go. So we want to get our oil in the pan, but we want to use the oil from the roasted garlic. So what we're going to do is we are just going to set the garlic to the side. We're going to take this and pour it directly into the pan. So it's popping because it still has some remnants of garlic and salt in it. That's okay. We are gonna go ahead and get our steak, and we're just gonna press for a second. Now this is a bigger piece of steak, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna sear it on both sides for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then we're gonna pop it in the oven for a few. Do not touch it. I don't care if it's smoking. I don't care if you feel like it's burning. We want that crust to form at the bottom, so we are not going to touch this. Okay, so we're coming up on 2 minutes, and I do see some brown at the bottom, so we're just going to take a peek. Yep. And that is the crust that we want. Oh, I also meant to say, make sure your oven is up to 400 so it's ready for when we put our steak in. Okay, let's take a peek. Okay, give it another second. Alright, and we're going to go ahead and turn this off. I'm just going to get the sides. Perfect. Just to seal it in. Beautiful. Okay, we're going to get this in the oven. I like my steak medium. So I'm going to put mine in for about 6 to 7 minutes. And while we do that, we're going to get started on our onion rings. So I'm just going to set a timer for 7 minutes. And we are going to start frying up our onion rings. So I keep these little baskets and papers in the house. I'm just going to set that here for when the onion rings are ready. We'll be able to go ahead and drain them. You can see I have my onions. I have my flour. We're just going to do a little test with the flour to see if it's ready. I'm going to turn this up a sec. Now, it would be best to probably soak these overnight, but because we're doing side-by-side stuff, I don't want to get too far ahead. But for future reference, if this is something that you know you're going to make the next day, soaking it overnight will definitely have more of that buttermilk flavor to it. So we're going to do a couple at a time so they can get fully coated and they don't start sticking to each other. with this. Let's see. Okay, we've got some bubble action. So we're gonna go ahead and drop these in. It almost looks like Mickey Mouse or something. If you have a deep fryer, you don't have to worry about turning them over, but because I'm doing it in a shallow pan with the oil not fully covering the onion, we're going to be flipping these. Your eyes are not fooling you. I am not a master at chopsticks, but I want to be. So I've been using them more and more in the kitchen and when I eat. Okay. Because these are fried, we do want to go ahead and salt them when we take them out. So we'll give this oil a second to come up to temp. And we're just going to throw a pinch of salt on those. And I'm just using regular fine sea salt. It has been 7 minutes, which means our steaks are ready to be taken out. Well, I'm saying our steaks, plural, but it's just one steak. Let me show you here. This is our steak. And because we're going to be using those pan drippings for our sauce, we're going to get that steak out and resting on a plate. It smells like a steakhouse in here. Gorgeous. All right, we're gonna go ahead and flip these. Beautiful. I know you're supposed to keep like one finger steady and you're only supposed to move the top one. But for whatever reason, I can't do that. I'm trying though. There we go, yay. My camera died, but I took the onion rings out. I'm adding a little bit of salt to the ones that were just taken out. And we're gonna get the last batch of onions in. I feel like I've cut just the perfect amount. While those onion rings are frying, I just drained the rest of the batter, the buttermilk batter, and I threw out the flour. So we're cleaning as we go. Still don't know how to use chopsticks. I think I want to call this the steakhouse sandwich. At first I was going to call it like a truffle steak, whatever. But honestly, there are more elements of steakhouse vibes than there are of like truffle vibes, you know what I mean? I'm gonna try one. That is yummy. paper, this paper is not really great at catching grease. So I'm just gonna add a paper towel. I'm gonna pick these up and I'm gonna add a paper towel down. That way you can do a better job at draining the grease off. But they taste so good. I'm gonna have to stop myself from eating them all while we wait. Okay. We can turn this off. Our last batch of onions are ready. And one more time, we're gonna add just a tiny pinch of salt. You don't want to use regular salt, you don't have to. You could, if you have the truffle salt, use truffle salt. You could use some of the steakhouse seasoning. I'm gonna give it that extra oomph. But I'm just gonna go ahead and use regular salt. We are doing so great. We have our onion rings. We have our beautiful steak resting. Some juices are pooling out. And as you can see, the juices, not blood. So what we have to do next, oh, I think I'm losing my headband. Yeah, okay. What we have to do next, we have our ciabatta bread that has to be seared, because I like my bread sandwiches toasted. We need to shred our cheese and we need to make the sauce. So what I think we're gonna do is I think we're gonna prep the bread and the cheese. That way once the sauce is done, we can just go ahead and assemble our sandwich. Mentioned, I got this, let me take it out of this plastic, because I used some of it yesterday. It's the Boar's Head brand. It's an onion jack. It's not gonna focus. Okay, it's an onion jack, caramelized onion jack Monterey cheese. Caramelized, yes, caramelized onion jack. That's the name of it, but it's Monterey jack cheese with caramelized onions. It is really, really good. I guess because of the caramelized onion, it kind of crumbles more than it does, like, you know, Monterey cheese is usually just solid, but because of the caramelized onion, it does crumble. So we're just going to shred up a little bit for ourselves, but we need some space. Oh, and we also have some chives that we're going to want to put on there. It's going to be a very oniony sandwich. If you don't like chives, you can go ahead and leave them off. It's really just a personal preference, but it's not necessary. I'm gonna move my water. This is the fork that I used to batter the onion rings, so we're gonna get rid of that. Okay, that feels better. So we're gonna shred some of this cheese. As far as how it's going to shred, that's a great question because it's very crumbly. Yep. Okay, well, for all that, I could have just broken it up. So if you're using the onion jack, which I've never seen this in grocery stores. I literally went to, it's called the Wine Library, and they have like a whole charcuterie section. They have all these different cheeses and meats and spreads and things like that. So I was able to pick this up. But you can just use regular cheese. It doesn't have to be onion jack. And especially too because we have crispy onions. We're gonna put chives on it. If you don't want like more onion flavor, it's probably better just to use a regular mild cheese. But you're gonna go ahead and shred that up. You're gonna shred it on the thinnest one. I'll show you. There are two, or at least on mine. They have this bigger one. You're gonna use the small one because you want those tiny little shreds for that cheese to pile up really nicely. Okay, so we have our cheese. We're gonna put that to the side. Block because 1, we need to cut the bread, 2, we need to cut the chives, 3, we need to get this garlic out of here. So I went to Trader Joe's and I got this mini ciabatta baguette. I like ciabatta bread because I feel like it's really good when you twist it, and the middle has like all of those nice airy pockets, so I feel like it does well with like a sauce. I'm gonna cut how much bread I need. I think I'm gonna make it about this big. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna lather this baby up with butter. And I still have my oven on, so I'm just going to throw it in the oven to toast. But you can get out another pan if you want to and toast it in the pan. I don't want to make any more dishes, so the oven is going to work just fine. The oven is the original toaster. If you have a broil section, you can put it on broil for like a minute. My broiler takes 100 years. To get hot enough to broil anything. We had to get a new stove because the old stove was leaking gas. And I love this new stove. I love the burners on it and everything. However, I do miss having that open flame broiler. That's something that when we move and we get new appliances, I'm definitely gonna have to make sure that I have, because the coils, to me, the broiling section just doesn't do what it needs to do. We're buttered up. We're gonna go in the oven for a minute or two. And you can get it as however crispy you like. If you don't want it that toasted, I know sometimes toasted sandwiches can be hard on the roof of your mouth. It doesn't have to be super, super toasted. But I like mine brown. So I'm just gonna get a few chives, maybe about 3 or 4. And I don't think I mentioned my knife goal in the last few videos. I think the last time we left off was about $55 or $60. And I'm feeling very, I don't know if it's like the steakhouse vibes, I don't know, because steak is one of my favorite foods. Like, I'm just in a good mood, but we are going to be adding $20 to our pot. So I think we're either at 55 or 60. Oh wait, are we at 75 yet? I don't know. I'll have to check. I'll put it in the description. But we haven't added in about 2 or 3 videos. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add $20 to our knife goal. I am saving my video. I've been wanting to do an so I'm just squeezing out the roasted garlic. I've been wanting to do Ina Garden's roasted chicken, but I know it's gonna be a 3-part video where one, we're gonna have to learn how to carve chicken properly, right? Because I'm not gonna lie, I just hacked the chicken off the bone. We want to get as close to that bone as possible because we want to make our own stock from the chicken. So there's 3 videos. There's the roasting of the chicken, there's the carving of the chicken, and then there's chicken stock. I need a knife for that. I need a knife and I need a cutting board. So I'm holding off on that video just because I need a knife to carve that chicken. This garlic is so soft. I can literally press it with my fingers. And we're just gonna push down on it to just make a little paste. Nothing too crazy. I still want chunky pieces. That truffle is in there. It smells so good. And we have all of our elements together. The last thing we're gonna do is get our peppercorn, creamy garlic peppercorn sauce going. Now I'm just gonna check on my bread. It's warm, but it's not toasted yet. So I'm gonna get this pan back on. This is the same pan that we used for our steak. So as you can see, all the drippings are still on there. All that crust is still on there. That's what we want. We're gonna get that on there. I'm gonna add a good heap. A good heap of garlic to my pan. And the rest of my seasoning. Now, because I opened some white wine last night, I'm gonna add just a little bit of white wine to mine. You don't have to add it. It wasn't even originally in my recipe. I'm not deviating from what we're doing together. You don't need the white wine. What you can use instead, what I normally use is Worcestershire sauce because it adds kind of like that tang to it, but I'm gonna use the wine. So we're gonna add some wine. We're gonna add, let's get out the heavy cream. And the butter. Now you could also add some Parmesan cheese to it to make it like a Parmesan cheese creamy garlic sauce, but because I already have a cheese element, I'm gonna pass on that, but it would be really, really good. I'm just wrapping up my cheese that I opened. And we want that garlic to stay soft. We don't want it to actually start to get some real color on it and start to get hard or change texture. So I'm gonna get this moving around and I'm gonna bring you over here so you can see what we got going on. Okay, my bread is ready. Get that out. Go ahead and add some white wine. At this point, if you don't have white wine or really red wine or any wine, you can go ahead and add some Worcestershire sauce. That will work just as well. I use it all the time. I typically don't keep wine in my house, so I never really have wine to make sauces. That's also another video that I have written down that I want to do. Cooking wines, not actual like cooking wines without alcohol from the store, but wines that you can cook with. What wine? Because they say like, oh, a white wine, but it's like, yeah, but they're like a million different types of white wine or red wine or whatever. So I want to learn how to add wine to sauces, to meals, to kind of elevate it. But I never know which wine to add. I don't really drink like that. So I don't really have like favorite wines that I drink. And I know that they say you're supposed to cook with whatever wine you're going to drink with that night. But I don't know enough about wine to know which ones would go well with what. So we're just going to let that cook out for a second. I'm rinsing off my knife because I need it to add the butter. Smells good. Gonna let that reduce some more. And I'm just gonna add a pinch more. Oh, you know what? I'm lying. No, I'm not. I forgot we added the rest of that steak seasoning. I was gonna add a pinch of salt, but we added the rest of that steak seasoning, which has lots of salt in it. So we're gonna hold off on that. Okay, so I'm opening up my butter. I'm gonna get a decent amount. I wanna say this is about 2 tablespoons. Now this is a lot of sauce for one sandwich, I realize that. But I'm literally gonna put this on everything. I'm gonna use this on other stuff. And I also know that I'm not gonna use that entire filet for one sandwich, I don't think. So I'll be able to make another sandwich out of it later. But even if I don't, even if I use the whole steak, I'm still gonna use the sauce on other things. This will actually be good on chicken too. Even though it's a peppercorn sauce that's typically used for, or I guess, not really a peppercorn sauce, a creamy garlic peppercorn sauce. It'll also be good on chicken. Okay, now once this is bubbling, we're gonna add our heavy cream and it'll be ready. So what I wanna start doing, I lost my train of thought. I'm so mesmerized about the smell. I literally lost my train of thought here. I don't know what I wanna start doing. Okay, I think we're ready. We're gonna add a splash of cream. We'll start off with that and see where that gets us. Now we're gonna taste as we go, adding the cream. I'm gonna go grab a spoon. Oh wow. I'm just gonna stir this really quickly. Okay. Our seasonings we can put away because we're done. Okay, and we are left with what we're going to be using. Oh, actually, one second. We need to cut our steak. Our steak has been resting for quite some time. This knife is gonna do it. It's gonna do it. Okay. As you can see, this is what we've got. Let's give it a little taste. Why not? Wow. Oh wow. This steak is really good. I don't know if you could see it. All pink in the inside. That's how I like it. Straight pink with a crust. Yeah, we're gonna be using all of this steak. I mean, literally, it's so soft. Oh my goodness. This might be my favorite sandwich I've ever made. Our sauce is done. We know because it's sticking to our spatula. Not me talking like I know what I'm talking about. Seriously though, it's done. It's ready. We're ready. We are so ready. Alright, so we have the bottom of our bread. Now what I want to do, because I'm a garlic lover, you don't have to do this. I'm taking some of this roasted garlic and I'm going to spread that on the bottom. Now I think I want to do this like this. Hold on, can you see? There we go. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna layer all this on here. Beautiful. Now, do we want to do onion rings, cheese, or cheese and onion rings? Let's do cheese. At this point, if you're somebody who loves melty cheese, you can go ahead and throw this like in a toaster or a broiler situation to get the cheese melted, but I think I'm gonna like the crumbles. Do we do sauce, onion rings, chives, sauce, chives, onion rings, or chives, onion rings, sauce? Let's do sauce. It'll get the cheese a little warmed up. Don't mind my sink. I don't know what it's doing. You're gonna add chives. Oh my gosh, that looks so beautiful already. Can you see that? I don't think you're seeing it. Look at this. Monterey Jack cheese. We have sauce, we have chives. And now we're stacking with onion rings. And I mean stack them. That is a work of art. That might be the best thing I've ever done in my entire life. And I'm 30. Guys, we have our steakhouse sandwich. We have our steakhouse sandwich. I kind of want to cut it in half just because I want to see what it looks like. You can even take some of that steak sauce, the peppercorn sauce, put it in like a little bowl and dip it if you feel like it's not enough sauce. I'm going to bite this. That should be illegal. Okay. That should be illegal. One of the best things I have ever eaten. It is everything you love about a steakhouse. Hold on. I need you to see how serious I am. It is everything you love about a steakhouse on bread.
Like, I want you to remember me for this. Yeah? I want you to remember me for this. If you don't remember me for anything else, remember me for inventing, well, let me not say inventing, because somebody will comment on here about somebody who did something 6 years ago. I don't know. I've never seen it done. I saw someone make a truffle steak sandwich, and I was like, ooh, that looks good. Or a steakhouse sandwich would be better. But who's to say I'm the first to do it? However, this is the first time I've ever seen it done, and it is absolutely amazing. This, by far, the favorite thing we've made on this channel. I hope it's the favorite thing for you that we've made on this channel. And if you like this, if you like more things like this, fancy, bougie, on a budget, kind of stepping out of our comfort zone, doing new things, doing things that we've done before like steak and reinventing them in different ways, definitely subscribe, like the video, comment, tell me what you added to your steak. What are, you know, some of your steakhouse favorites? What are some things that you would have added to this sandwich? And let's chat, let's talk about it. And I will see you guys in the next video. The next video, we're gonna be doing something sweet, a nice, traditional, classic apple pie. Pray for me. I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Yeah, I got too hype and I let you off way too early. Or books. If you're using a book that has the tabs like I have, there's no tab for sandwiches, so I just had to put it in meat and poultry. So I titled it The Ultimate Steakhouse Sandwich. Our ingredients, we used 1 filet mignon, we used a head of garlic, 3 to 4 sprigs of chives, ciabatta bread, a half a cup of cheese. I just put cheese because it could be any white cheese that you prefer. Cheddar cheese, Monterey Jack, a specialty cheese like the one I found, but really any white cheese that you prefer. You can even do Parmesan cheese. Truffle salt, peppercorns, 1 small yellow onion. I put seasoned onion ring flour because basically you're just going to use that house seasoning that we use. The paprika, salt, garlic, onion powder, pepper, and a little bit of Cajun seasoning. To the flour, we have buttermilk. Again, if you don't have buttermilk, you can just use like 1 cup of milk to about a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of vinegar. I just put house seasoning on here, steak seasoning, butter, heavy cream, white wine, or Worcestershire sauce because the white wine is optional. So for the method, we roasted the garlic for about an hour at 300 degrees. You have to salt the garlic. So we salted the garlic, added olive oil, and roasted at 300 degrees for about an hour. Then we marinated our thinly sliced onions into the seasoned buttermilk that we seasoned with the house seasoning. We remember you have to take out the steak and have it sit out at the same time that the garlic is roasting because it has to be room temperature. So once that steak is room temperature, once you have your onions marinating, we went ahead and we seasoned our steak. We seared, after getting our pan hot, your pan has to be smoking hot. We seared it on each side for about 2 minutes and then placed it in a 400-degree oven for 7 minutes. While we did that, we went ahead and we battered up our onion rings and we fried them. Once the steak was out, we set it aside on a different plate. We used that same pan. We added the remaining steak seasoning. We added peppercorns. We added the roasted garlic and white wine and butter. And we let that reduce for a few minutes. And then we went ahead and we added heavy cream. So once our sauce was done, we toasted our bread by adding some butter to it. Once our bread was toasted to the desired toast level that we wanted, we went ahead and we smeared the garlic at the bottom. We added our steak. We added our cheese. We added our sauce, our chives, and then very last, we added our onion rings, and that was it. It really was not that complicated. I don't even think it took us that long for real. It took us maybe about, an hour and a half at most. So yeah, just wanted to come back in here and say that. We have it in our book, one more recipe down. I don't know, like 89 to go. Thanks again for tuning in, and I will see you when we're making apple pie. Oh, for the apple pie video, and I'll mention this in that video because we did a pie crust video already. You can just go ahead and follow that pie crust recipe. The video should be coming out a few days after this one. So what we'll do is, if you want to, while you're in the kitchen right now, you can go ahead and check out that pie crust video, get your pie crust started, and throw it straight in the freezer. And then when you're ready to make it, you can go ahead and thaw it the night before, and it'll be ready for you. So if you want to do that, that's just a tip. You can go ahead and do that. But I'm gonna go ahead and clean my house. So again, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye.